I hid my boss's photography equipment in a storage unit, then bought it at an auction so I legally owned it. I worked for the company. They did 3-phase photography. Family and children photography. No weddings or events or anything. Straight studio work that was in a portable setting. Settings booked for 10 minutes and we were supposed to shoot 30 to 50 a day. Yes, it's as wretched a job as it sounds. It was fast, high energy, and at times simply brutal. There are 3 stages of the work. First, the pre-seller. They come in 2 to 3 weeks in advance and sell a special 10 by 13 portrait and book the appointment. Then comes the photographer, that's me in this instance. I come in for about a week and take the pictures. Then the salesperson returns 2 weeks later with the special along with the 6 other poses I took and tries to sell you $400 worth of pictures. I was very good at my part. The company sales average was about $100 per customer, per 50 customers. The more you shoot, the lower your quality because you spend less time taking care of the details, and details sell pictures. My average was about $175 per 150 to 200 customers. I was making this company a lot of money, and they consistently treated me like crap. Oh, the stories I have. Their business model was shoot as many sittings as you can, as fast as you can. To them, shooting 50 with a $100 average was better than shooting 35 with a $150 average, even though the profit margin was exactly the same. I never agreed with that, and boss and I went round and round about it every week. They withheld raises because I didn't have enough sittings and took my bonuses because I wasn't meeting their quotas. So I figured out how to be fast, efficient, and damn good. But that's another post entirely. So that's the background. Now the good stuff. Enter the jerk. The jerk is a pre-seller who lied to the customers, lied to the store, and would book appointments from 9 a.m. to 8:30 p.m., even though the studio hours were 10 a.m. through 7 p.m. He told every lie in the book, and I think he even added a few of his own. You want to bring your dog? Family of 15? Sure, bring 5 changes of clothes, and I'll even have the photographer do your makeup. By the way, I don't even do my own makeup. Come and get your picture taken and we'll throw in a free toaster. And just to make it interesting, he'd triple and quadruple book appointments, and when he ran out of those, he'd sell open appointments, and tell people just to come in anytime and my photographer will work you in. Just writing that makes me mad even after all these years. The biggest problem was he would waive the sitting fee or just not tell them. I was obligated to collect that $8. Every time I didn't, it came out of my check. It was a frickin' nightmare. I refused to work behind the jerk for these and thousands of other reasons. I told the boss that if they ever put me behind the jerk again, I would quit. Which is exactly what happened. They knew he'd been working at the store I was assigned and they lied about it. I immediately called my boss and told him this was my last week, and that he needed to make arrangements to get the photography equipment at the end of the shoot. I should have walked out. But I was young and dumb. It was a 3-day shoot and I shot 316 customers by myself. That is an insane amount of sittings and nobody was happy. Every night the store manager had to tell my customers to leave because the store was closed. People were lined up at 9 a.m. waiting for me, and I took so much crap that week. After a customer threw a shoe at me and another spat on my pizza, the store security guard brought a chair over and stayed with me almost the entire time I was there. I honestly can't remember how many people were escorted out of the store because they acted a fool in my studio. It's been over a decade and I still have nightmares about that one week. But nobody came to get the equipment, so I started making phone calls. And plotting. I rang the boss and said, "Hey, what do you want me to do with your equipment?" The boss said, "You're gonna need it next week in Florida." "No, I won't actually because I quit. You didn't give me any notice, so I'm not accepting your resignation. I'm sending you to Florida next week." I'm an independent contractor, remember? You can't make me go to Florida. This is not complicated. I quit. "Just go to Florida. I don't have time for this right now. You can quit in 3 weeks if you can hire a replacement." And he hangs up. Nope, not going to Florida. I packed the equipment and took it home with me. The camera was a brand new Canon T2i 550D, and those were pretty pricey back in 2010. I really didn't want to give it back, but it wasn't mine to keep. I had an idea. The boss was an absolute train wreck of a human. If he didn't want to do something, then he wouldn't. If he could find someone else to do it, he would. I decided to use his own worst traits against him: avoidance and procrastination. The next thing I did was take the company credit card and go to the nearest storage unit with climate control. I rented a unit and paid for the first month, but just one. I unloaded it all down to the last halogen light bulb. I took detailed pictures of everything and an inventory. I locked the door and walked away. At this point, there was nothing I could do but wait and hope that the boss would continue to be the worthless wreck I knew him to be. Next, I called and reported the card stolen. Why? Because I knew if I didn't, that card would remain active and rent would be paid every month on time. And that just wasn't going to work for me. I cut it in half and sent it in and the combination to the storage locker to the boss via FedEx, along with a hand-painted sign that said, "I quit." I also sent an email to HR telling them I was terminating my contract and that the boss had the information on the equipment. This was probably the only sketchy thing I did. The person I emailed out was on medical leave and I knew it. I could have sent that email to a dozen other people who worked there, but they might have paid attention to it. By the time she got back to the office, she had so many emails, she couldn't even begin to tackle them all. A month goes by and the police knock on my door. Okay, so I wasn't expecting that. The company had reported the equipment stolen and the police were there to investigate. I really thought I was going to go to jail. The cop that knocked on the door was fully expecting to take me away in handcuffs until I explained what was going on. I ended up taking copies of the emails to the police department, as well as my copy of the contract with the storage unit. I also had a copy of the shipping label. Both my name and the company were listed on the contract. I had to make an official statement and jump through some hoops. The company had placed a monetary value of $12,000 on the studio rig, so potentially I was in a lot of trouble. Except I covered my butt. The police told me I was in the clear because the storage unit had their name on the contract, their credit card was used to pay for it, and I'd sent the combination and all the pertinent information to the company. I'm very good at cover your butt with paper. At this point, after the police visit, I figure the gig is up because surely they're going to come and get this rig or send someone or something. Nope, boss is still worthless. 2 more months go by. I get a call from the storage facility. They're about to cut the lock and auction the contents. I just about peed my pants, I was so excited. I called the boss again. He dodged my calls and ignored my emails to please call me immediately. I never specifically stated what I wanted to talk to him about, and just like I was hoping he would, he ignored me. Okie dokie, I've done all that I can. And that's when it all started to come together. And then I hit a pretty good snag, but it actually worked out better in the end. In this state, if a storage unit goes up for sale, the owner can't purchase it at auction. I didn't know that. But where there's a will, there's a way. They sent letters and called 3 more times and then the date was set up. The unit went up for auction on my birthday. My neighbor went to the sale. He brought the unit for $125. I almost died. And of course, we were in cahoots on this, but we had to make it look like we weren't. The pistol grip on the camera mounts cost more than that, not to mention the lighting, props, and costumes. And of course, the camera. My neighbor then put an ad in the local paper for photography stuff $1,000 firm, but didn't list anything specific and, oops, put the wrong number in the ad. A week later, he wanted it out of his garage, so he sold it to me for $126. He has a bill of sale from the auction. I have a bill of sale from him. It's now mine and there's nothing the company can do about it. But boy did they try. So I now had a fully functional photography studio, all the contacts I needed to start my own business, and the skills to do it. I started calling all the stores I'd worked for the last 8 years, and offered them a much better deal than what the company was giving them. I did my own pre-selling, my own photography, and my own sales. Except I took it a step further. I bought a monitor and computer and let people preview their pictures and order the day of the shoot. They paid in full and I mailed the pictures directly to them. People loved it. No high-pressure sales, no tricks. My customers were happy and so were my stores. About 6 months after my first independent shoot, I heard from the company. I got several nasty letters from them, which I ignored. Word had gotten back to them that I was using their equipment and that I was working for someone else. I just laughed at them. They thought so little of me that it never occurred to them that it was my business. Then I got a nasty legal letter from a lawyer. It started with cease and desist, rolled into me violating the non-competitors agreement, and ended with the return of their stolen property. They'd apparently not told him all of the facts. I sent him copies of everything. I waited a few weeks for a response from him and heard nothing. I finally called to find out what was going on, but no one was available to take my call. How convenient. A few days later, I got a certified letter in the mail saying, "No other legal action will be forthcoming from this office." I would have been content to just let it slide, but this whole thing really ticked me off, and now I wanted blood. I made a real effort to really hurt them. Little by little, I built my business and my reputation. I didn't have to do any of the nasty tricks that the jerk pre-seller had done during my time with the company. Within a year, I had stores and schools calling me. I had more work than I could handle on my own, so I took on a second photographer, then a third. I actually hired 4 people out from under the company's noses. At the height of my business, I had 8 additional photographers and a full-time office assistant. I could have grown much larger, and in hindsight, I'm so glad I didn't. Digital photography was a huge boon to the industry, and then it backfired. I found my niche in the market just as it exploded. I ran the company completely out of 3 states. They lost all of their chain contracts to me, including the store where it all blew up. The jerk lost all of his stores and ended up working at a gas station. The boss ended up demoted because his district was dissolved when I sniped the contracts. The jerk actually tried to convince one of my photographers to hire him to do the pre-selling for her. By now, my name and my business name had a really good reputation. My old boss left the company for good and used me as a personal reference. He was a good photographer, just a rotten manager. And I took great joy in telling the people who called me that I was legally not allowed to tell them what I thought of the man. The age of the cell phone camera pretty much destroyed traditional photography, and I closed my doors as a business in late 2017. My old company closed for good in 2016, and I'd like to think I had a hand in that. I'm still standing, and they're nothing but an empty building. I still have the original rig, but the camera has been replaced several times. I do senior pictures and the occasional venue shoot. Most of my photography is for restaurant menus now. People ask me if that's boring. Well, I've never had a meatball scream, cry, or kick me, which is pretty much a daily occurrence when you work with kids. This may not be as epic as some of the stories on here, but I beat them at their own game, and that still feels pretty darn good. It happened 12 years ago, and I'm still reaping my rewards. Am I the jerk for going for blood the way that I did there? Excuse me? Not as epic as they come? Madam, you put up with years of horrible treatment, used clever workarounds to essentially steal equipment from your old employer, started a one-woman business, called their bluff when they threatened to take you to court, and then expanded and destroyed them in 3 states. This is a saga worthy of a movie. Or maybe an episode of TV. But I mean like a good episode on an HBO show or something. You really did risk it all with your clever maneuvering with the camera and storage unit. There was a non-zero chance of you getting into real trouble by faking credit card theft and knowingly reporting to employees on sick leave so that you could take the equipment yourself. You are an absolute pro in covering your own butt. We have a lot of stories on the channel that highlight the importance of using a paper trail to punish people who wrong you, but this is a prime example of how to create a paper trail to destroy someone else. You're a pretty devious individual in this one incident, but honestly, it sounds like your old company motivated you to be so, and then were negligent enough to be destroyed by it. You're the epitome of a jerk vigilante, but thank you nonetheless for an epic story. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, linked below. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for holding my son's college fund hostage? I have a son that graduated this year from high school. We, my wife and I, started his college fund the minute we found out she was pregnant. Since we make good money, in the mid-6 figures, his college fund currently has almost $400K in it. We've never told our son what to do with his life. We may have guided his decisions, as any good parent should, but since he was still young, we let him make his own decisions. We also never expected academic excellence or forced him into sports or artistic activities. Now that he's graduated high school, he said that he didn't want to go to college. We said as long as he was sure, he could do whatever he wanted. He refused trade schools too. He also didn't want to work with us in our business. He said that he planned to use his college fund to start a business of his own. I said that I'll allow it only if he takes some business management, accounting and law classes in the nearby community college. I said that I'd pay for them out of pocket and not from the fund. And then I'd expect a well-made business plan before I'd give him the money. My wife agrees 100%. But he called us massive jerks for holding his college fund hostage to make him do what we want. We think we're just doing our best to make sure that his business succeeds. So, am I the jerk? Alrighty, a number of you have sent me some questions that I guess I could give some much-needed clarification to the topic on. So the money is in mine and my wife's name. Some people said that this discussion should have been had earlier. Well, earlier he said he wanted to take a couple of years off to work before going to college. It wasn't until earlier last week that he said he wanted to start a business. Some people also say that he's spoiled and doesn't know how fast that money can disappear. And they're right. I ran away from an awful home situation when I was 16, worked for my father-in-law, and got paid under the table until I was able to work legally. The only reason I have the money I do is that I married the boss's daughter and her father left us a paid-off house and a booming business. He moved to Spain to enjoy retirement. I didn't even get my GED and go to college until I'd had my kid. So I spoiled my kid like I wished I was spoiled. That's also the reason why I asked. I live in fear of doing something that could make me like my parents, and I know this community is full of younger people who might give me a different perspective. So thank you to everyone. This is one of the murkier ones that the narrator has seen in a while, but on balance, trying to put myself in both sets of shoes, I've got to say that I'm more inclined to side with the parents on this one. I know that all kids are different, and I don't know how bright your son is, but I was an idiot right up until my mid-20s and arguably for a considerable amount of time afterwards as well. The jury might still be out on that, but if you had given me that much money before I turned 20, it would be gone and wasted in record time. I'm inclined to say that he should take a while in the world, be it college, work, or even a spoiled rich kid travel session if that's all he'll take for a while. You're not the jerk, author. Hopefully some time in the real world will give him perspective. Oh, is that what I said? So at the old company I used to work at, I had a coworker who would consistently push their work onto me and then claim they did the work. They'd volunteer me for late shifts and then it'd come in and basically say, "It's 'cause you're still new, you need more practice." At some point over the 3 months working there, I got really annoyed at consistently writing their copy for them and them taking the credit, and they'd constantly attribute it to me being new. Coolies! One evening when I was packing to go home, they came in and gave me a 10-page setup and said I needed to write copy for all the assets before I left. I was annoyed. It was a Friday night. I made plans and I wanted to leave. I told him I had plans and he said, "You're new, I'm doing you a favor. This is how you'll learn what it takes to lead a team." And then he left. So I started making errors. Nothing too hectic. Like we were running a competition and the poster was meant to say, "Stand a chance to win your share of $1 million worth of prizes," and I wrote, "Stand a chance to win $1 million. Huge legal issue because false claims and the company could be sued. So this person took the work as usual and published it the following morning. He didn't bother reading anything at all. He copy and pasted and that was that. Monday morning comes and I got called to the marketing director's office. He told them I'd written the copy and I'd made the mistakes, only for the marketing director to scold him for being incompetent and not doing his own job and pushing it onto an intern, and then also not reading before he posted. The marketing director saw the posts like 10 hours after they'd been posted and lost her crap. She called marketing and told them to pull down everything. Small victory, but he never asked me to do any of his work again after that. Thank frick your marketing director was a million times better at her job than this clown was at his. She immediately recognized that this moron was just shoving his work onto other people and smacked him down for it. Extra points to her for bringing you into the office to let you know that she was on your side in her own way. Sure, delegation is a whole thing in certain jobs, but I'm not sure this gentleman had the authority to do it in the first place. And putting his own name on said work is just the height of crappiness. Good leaders put credit where it's due. This guy was literally just making you do his job for him, as you correctly deducted. Also, he was incompetent enough not to check said work. Then he gave you the credit when he got in trouble. What a dillweed. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. Or if you want to check out some great music, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot. Everything linked in the description.